Alright, so today's lesson is on adding mixed numbers. As always, our integer rules do apply. And our steps for adding our mixed numbers is going to be the first thing we have to find a common denominator. When working with fractions, adding and subtracting, that's the number one rule. Okay. Alright, after we find our common denominator, we're going to go ahead and add any fractions together, and then we're going to worry about adding our whole numbers together. If needed, we're going to write any improper fractions as a mixed number. That's after we've added the fraction part. And then we're going to add that mixed number to the whole number. Okay? So our first example here is 2 3/5 plus 1 4/5. Okay, so when I write these, I'm actually going to stack them on top of each other. So I'm going to do 2 3/5 over 1 4/5. Okay? So my first step is to add my fractions up. They do have a common denominator. So I have 3 plus 4 is 7, so 7/5. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I have a improper fraction right there, so I need to turn that improper fraction into a mixed number. And by that I'm going to do 5 into 7 goes into a 1 time. There's 2 left over, so that's on top. So I get 1 2/5. So now I'm left with that 1 gets added to my 3, which is equal to 4. And I have 2/5 remaining. So my answer is 4 2/5. Alright, number 2, I have 1 2/15 and 7 1/6. Okay, first thing I notice is that I do not have a common denominator, so I want to go ahead and get there. My common denominator for this is 30, so it actually turns out to be 1 4/30 plus 7 5/30. I had to multiply this one by 5, this one by 2. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and stack them up. So 1 4/30, 7 5/30. 4 plus 5 is 9 over 30, and then 1 plus 7 is 8. So I have 8 9/30. I also do recognize here I can simplify my fraction. So it turns out to be 8 3/10. Number 3 here. We have, starting to work with negatives now, we have a negative 3 4/5 plus negative 2 5/6. They are the same symbol. So again, I'm just going to be adding them, but my answer is going to be a negative. So I have a, and I also notice too, they do not have a common denominator, so I need to get there. Looks like I have a 5 and a 6 as my denominator, so my common denominator is going to be 30. So it turns out to be negative 3 24/30. And then I'm going to add negative 2, and this will be 25/30. So I'm going to go ahead and stack these up. 3 and 24/30, 2 and 25/30. Go ahead and add them up. 24 plus 25 is 49/30, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. So I have 5 and 49/30, and that is negative. I have an improper fraction there. I know that 49/30 here is actually equal to 1, because 30 goes into that 1 time, with 19 left over, 19/30. I'm going to go ahead and add my 1 and my 5 together, so I have negative 6, 19/30 for my answer. Number 4, got negative 7 plus negative 3 1/3. Again, they are the same symbols. They're both negative, so I'm going to be adding the two together. There is no fraction for this one, so I don't even have to find a common denominator. So I have a negative 7, negative 3 1/3. Bring down my 1/3. 7 plus 3 is 10. So negative 10 1/3 is my answer for that one. Alright, so you have some problems to go ahead and try now. You have your 4 fraction problems right there. And we also have a comparing problem as well. Let's go ahead and pause your video and try those 5. Alright, here are our results here. Number 1, you should have got an answer of 3. It's 2, and then 8/8 is equal to 3. Number 2, should have got an answer of negative 9 7/20. Number 3, 7 7/8. Number 4, negative 8 and 3/8, especially after you simplify your improper fraction there. And then your comparing problem at the end here. Okay, let's see, you should have gotten, okay, so you should have gotten the first expression there is greater than the second, and it turns out to be negative 7 and 6/30 is greater than negative 7 and 13/30. Yes, they both have negative 7s there, but we see that our negative 6/30 is actually a greater value than our negative 13/30. Not by much, but just by a little bit.